Welcome to my channel Voice of English. I am Daniel, and today I want to tell you something that might change the way you see language learning forever. Have you ever tried to learn a new language, felt excited on the first day, but after a few days everything started fading away? The words disappeared, the motivation became weak, and your mind quietly said, "Maybe I can't do this." But listen carefully. The problem is not your brain. The problem is not your memory. The real problem is your method. Most people don't master a language because they try to control it. They try to memorize everything. They try to be perfect. They wait for the right time, and they keep delaying the moment to actually use the language. But language is not something you control. Language is something you live. It grows through use, through repetition, through small daily moments. When you stop chasing perfection and start using the language, something powerful begins to happen. Your brain starts adapting. The language starts feeling familiar. And step by step, what once felt difficult becomes natural. In this video, I will show you how to master any language, not by force, but by training your brain in a simple and natural way. So stay with me until the end, because the final lesson will give you a system you can follow every day. A system that can turn any language from a struggle into a real part of your life. Lesson 1. Mastery begins in the mind. Many people believe mastering a language is about talent. They say some people are naturally gifted, that they have a special ability that others do not have. Maybe you have thought this too. Maybe you have looked at someone speaking confidently and said, "They are different, they are better, they are lucky." But that is not true. Mastery is not talent. Mastery is training. Your brain is not weak. Your brain is not slow. Your brain already knows how to learn a language. You proved it once without even thinking about it when you were a child. You learned your first language without pressure, without rules, without fear. Nobody gave you a grammar book and said, "Learn this first." Nobody told you to memorize thousands of words before speaking. You simply listened. You watched. You repeated. And slowly, naturally, language became part of you. That is the real secret of mastery. Not studying more, but learning in the right way. Many learners today follow the opposite path. They start with grammar rules, long vocabulary lists, and fear of making mistakes. They try to understand everything before they use anything. They wait until they feel ready. But that moment never comes, because language does not grow in waiting. Language grows in use. Your brain does not learn language like a machine. It learns through patterns, through sound, through repetition, and through meaning. When you hear the same sentence many times, your brain begins to recognize it. When you use that sentence in real life, your brain begins to trust it. And when you repeat this process again and again, the language starts becoming natural. Think about it this way. Learning a language is like building a path in your mind. The first time you walk on that path, it feels difficult. The second time, it feels a little easier. The third time, even easier. And after many repetitions, that path becomes clear and strong. This is how mastery is built. So instead of asking, "Am I talented enough?" ask a better question. Am I training my brain the right way? Because once you change the way you train, everything changes. You stop fighting the language, and you start growing with it. From this moment, remove the idea that language learning is only for special people. It is not. It is for anyone who is willing to practice, to repeat, and to stay consistent. Your progress is not decided by talent. It is decided by your daily actions. And here is the truth you need to remember. You do not need to be perfect to begin. You only need to begin to become better. Because mastery does not start with big success. It starts with small steps repeated every day. Lesson 2. Meaning before perfection. If you want to master a language, you must stop chasing perfect grammar in the beginning. This is one of the biggest mistakes learners make. They believe that every sentence must be correct before they speak. They try to fix every detail, every tense, every small error, and because of that, they slow themselves down. Perfection feels safe, but it is also a trap. When you focus too much on being correct, your mind becomes heavy. You start thinking too much. You stop flowing. You stop expressing. And slowly, you stop speaking. Not because you don't know anything, but because you are afraid to be wrong. But language is not a test. Language is communication. Meaning is what gives language its power. When you understand meaning, your brain relaxes. Your mind opens. You are no longer fighting the language. You are using it. And when you use it, even in a simple way, learning becomes natural. Think about real conversations. People do not speak perfectly all the time. Even native speakers make mistakes. They pause, they repeat, they change their sentences. But communication still happens because the meaning is clear. So instead of asking, "Is this sentence correct?" ask a better question. Ask, "Can I express my idea?" Because if your idea is understood, then communication is working. And that is the true goal of language. In the beginning, your sentences may be simple. They may not be perfect. You might say things like, "I go yesterday" instead of "I went yesterday." And that is okay. The message is still clear. You are still communicating. And with time, your brain will naturally improve. This is how learning becomes faster. You allow yourself to speak, to try, to explore. You give your brain the chance to build patterns. You learn from real use, not only from rules. Grammar is important, but grammar should come after meaning, not before it. Grammar should help you improve what you are already using, not stop you from using the language in the first place. When you learn through meaning, your brain connects words with real life. You do not just remember a rule, you remember a situation. You remember a feeling, and that makes the language stronger in your memory. Imagine you are hungry. You say, "I am hungry." That sentence is not just grammar. It is your feeling. It is your real life. And because of that, your brain remembers it more easily. This is the power of meaning, so give yourself permission to be imperfect. Give yourself permission to speak simple sentences. Do not wait for the perfect moment because it will never come. Start with what you know. Use what you have. Build step by step. Because perfection does not create fluency. Practice creates fluency. And the more you focus on meaning, the faster your language will grow. Lesson 3. Input creates mastery. You cannot speak what you have never heard. This is one of the most important truths in language learning, yet many people ignore it. They try to speak too early, without building a strong foundation. They push themselves to create sentences, but their brain does not yet have enough language inside it. And because of that, speaking feels difficult, stressful, and confusing. This is why many learners struggle. They believe speaking is the first step, but in reality, speaking is the result. It is the result of what your brain has already received. If there is no input, there can be no clear output. Your brain needs input. It needs sound. It needs patterns. It needs repetition. It needs to hear the language again and again in a way that it can understand. This is how your brain starts building connections. At first, everything may sound fast and unclear. Words may blend together. Sentences may feel like noise. And this can be frustrating. You may feel like you are not improving. But this stage is normal. It is not failure. It is the beginning of learning. When you continue listening, something slowly begins to change. Your brain starts recognizing small pieces. First, you hear one word, then a phrase, then a full sentence. You begin to notice patterns. You begin to predict meaning. The language starts becoming less strange and more familiar. This is how mastery begins. That is why you must listen every day. Not to difficult content that confuses you, but to simple, understandable input. Listen to short stories. Watch videos you can follow. Choose content where you understand the situation, even if you do not understand every word. Understanding everything is not necessary. understanding enough is enough. When you listen with meaning, your brain stays active. It connects sound with ideas. It builds memory in a natural way. This is much more powerful than memorizing isolated words. Repetition is also very important. Do not be afraid to listen to the same content again and again. Each time you listen, your understanding becomes deeper. What was unclear before becomes clear. What felt difficult becomes easy. At first, it may feel slow. You may think you are not making progress, but your brain is working quietly in the background. It is building patterns. It is creating connections. It is preparing you for speaking. And then one day, something changes. You listen to a sentence and you understand it without effort. You hear a phrase and it feels familiar. You start thinking, I have heard this before. This is the moment when the language stops feeling like noise and starts feeling like something real. This is the power of input. So do not rush the process. Do not force yourself to speak before your brain is ready. Feed your brain with language first. Give it sound, meaning, and repetition. Trust the process, because when your brain has enough input, speaking becomes easier. Words come faster. Sentences feel more natural. Confidence begins to grow, and that is when true mastery starts to appear. Lesson 4. Speak before you feel ready. This is where most people stop, not because they cannot learn, but because they are waiting. They wait to feel confident. They wait to be perfect. They wait for the right moment, the right situation, the right level. They tell themselves, I will speak when I am ready. But that moment never comes. Because the truth is simple. Confidence does not come before speaking. Confidence comes from speaking. If you wait for confidence first, you may wait forever. Because confidence is not something you think your way into. It is something you build through action. Every time you speak, even in a small way, you send a message to your brain. You tell your brain, this is safe, this is possible. And slowly, your fear begins to decrease. Your first sentences will be simple. Your voice may shake. Your grammar may be wrong. You may stop in the middle of a sentence. You may forget words. That is okay. This is not failure. This is training. A broken sentence is better than silence, because silence teaches your brain nothing. But speaking, even imperfect speaking, teaches your brain everything it needs to grow. Think about it. When you speak, your brain is working in real time. It is searching for words. It is building sentences. It is controlling your mouth. It is learning from mistakes. This process is powerful. This is where real improvement happens. Many learners spend years listening and reading, but they avoid speaking. So their understanding grows, but their ability to use the language stays weak. Then one day they try to speak and they feel stuck. Not because they don't know anything, but because they never trained that skill. Speaking is like a muscle. If you don't use it, it stays weak. But if you use it regularly, even for a few minutes a day, it becomes stronger. You don't need long conversations in the beginning. Start small. Speak to yourself. Describe what you are doing. Say simple sentences. I am walking. I am tired. I am learning. These small actions build confidence step by step. You can also record your voice. Speak for 1 minute about your day. Listen to yourself. Not to judge, but to learn. Notice where you struggle. Notice what feels easy. Then improve one small thing. This is how growth happens. If you have the chance, speak with other people. It can be a friend, a teacher, or even an online partner. Do not look for perfect conversations. Look for real practice. Look for small chances to use the language. And remember, mistakes are not your enemy. Mistakes are your teacher. Every mistake shows you what to improve. Every correction helps your brain adjust. Every attempt makes you stronger. So do not fear mistakes. Use them. You are not trying to sound perfect. You are trying to become better. So speak before you feel ready. Speak when it feels uncomfortable. Speak when your voice is not perfect. Because that discomfort is the place where growth happens. And one day, without even noticing, you will start speaking more easily. Words will come faster. Sentences will feel more natural. And the fear that once stopped you will slowly disappear. That is the power of speaking. Not perfect speaking, but real, honest, daily speaking. Because every time you speak, your brain becomes stronger. Lesson 5. Build with sentences, not words. Many learners collect hundreds of words, but when it is time to speak, they still feel stuck. They recognize vocabulary, they understand meanings. But when they try to express an idea, their mind becomes empty. Why does this happen? Because words alone are not enough. Words are pieces. They are like bricks. Useful, yes. Important, yes. But you cannot build a house with loose bricks. You need structure. You need connection. You need something that holds everything together. That something is sentences. Sentences are power because they carry meaning, action, and direction. A single word may tell you something small, but a sentence gives you a complete idea. It allows you to communicate, not just remember. This is why learning words alone often leads to frustration. You may know the word tired, but in a real conversation, your brain does not stop to think of one word. It needs a full expression. It needs something ready to use. So instead of learning tired, learn I'm tired today. Instead of learning want, learn I want to learn English. Instead of learning go, learn I go to work every day. Now your brain has something real, something usable, something alive. When you learn in sentences, your brain understands how words work together. You begin to feel patterns without thinking too much about rules. You start recognizing structures naturally, and this makes speaking faster and easier. This is how fluency grows. Fluency is not about knowing many words. It is about being able to use what you know quickly and naturally. And sentences help you do that. They give your brain ready-made tools for communication. Think about it. When someone asks you a question, you do not have time to build every sentence from zero. You need something familiar, something your brain has already practiced. This is why sentences are so powerful. They reduce thinking time. They increase confidence. Start with simple sentences. Do not make them complicated. Choose sentences that match your daily life. I am learning English. I feel tired today. I need help. I don't understand. These are small, but they are useful. Then repeat them. Use them in different situations. Change small parts of the sentence. For example, I am learning English can become I am learning slowly or I am learning every day. Now you are building flexibility. This is called pattern learning. Your brain begins to see that one structure can create many sentences, and suddenly, your vocabulary starts working together. It is no longer separate pieces. It becomes a system. Also, sentences help your memory. A single word is easy to forget, but a sentence connected to your life is easier to remember because it has meaning, context, and emotion. If you say, I am tired today after a long day, your brain connects that sentence with a real feeling, and that makes it stronger in your memory. So change the way you learn. Do not collect words. Build sentences. Do not chase quantity. Focus on usability. Do not memorize randomly. Practice meaningfully. Because a learner who knows 50 useful sentences can speak more than someone who knows 500 isolated words. And over time, these sentences become automatic. They come to your mind without effort. They come to your mouth without fear. That is the beginning of real fluency. Not knowing more, but using better. So from today, train your brain with sentences. Speak them, repeat them, live them. Because when sentences become part of you, language becomes part of your life. Lesson 6. Mastery is a daily system. This is the final truth. Many people search for the perfect method, the fastest way, the secret shortcut that will make them fluent quickly. But real mastery does not come from one big effort. It does not come from one long day of study. It comes from small actions repeated every single day. You don't master a language in one day. You master it in small moments. Every day. 10 minutes of listening. 5 sentences repeated. 2 minutes of speaking. It may sound simple. It may even sound too small. But do not underestimate the power of consistency. When you repeat small actions daily, your brain begins to change. Slowly, quietly, but powerfully. Your brain learns through repetition. Not one time, but many times. Not through pressure, but through the regular contact. Every time you listen, you strengthen your understanding. Every time you repeat, you build memory. Every time you speak, you grow confidence. This is how progress happens. Many learners fail not because they are incapable, but because they are inconsistent. They study for one day, then stop for 3 days. They feel motivated for 1 week, then lose direction. They try to do too much at once, then become tired and quit. But mastery is not about doing a lot. It is about doing a little, regularly. When you make language part of your daily life, everything becomes easier. You do not need to wait for a special time to study. You use the language while living your life. Speak while walking. Think in the language. Describe what you see. Repeat simple sentences in your mind. Turn your daily routine into practice. When you wake up, say a sentence. When you eat, describe your food. When you feel tired, express it in the language you are learning. These small actions may look simple, but they create a powerful environment inside your mind. The language stops being something separate. It becomes part of your day. This is how real learners grow. They do not wait for motivation. They build systems. They create habits. They show up every day, even when they do not feel perfect, even when they do not feel ready, because they understand one important truth. Mastery is not a goal you reach. It is a habit you build. When you follow a daily system, you remove pressure. You stop asking, when will I become fluent? And you start focusing on today, on what you can do now, on the next small step. And over time, those small steps become something big. One day, you understand more. One day, you speak more easily. One day, the language feels natural, not because of one big moment, but because of many small ones. So do not wait for the perfect plan. Do not wait for the perfect day. Start with what you have. Start with a few minutes. Stay consistent. Because if you give your brain daily contact with the language, it will adapt, it will grow, it will learn. And slowly, without pressure, without stress, you will realize something powerful. The language is no longer something you study. It is something you live. Final message. Now stop for a moment. Slow down. Think about your journey. How many times did you start with energy and hope, telling yourself this time will be different? And then slowly life became busy. Your motivation became weak, and you stopped again. How many times did you feel I am not good at this? I cannot remember words. I cannot speak like others. And maybe you started believing it. But now you know the truth. You are not bad at languages. You are following the wrong path. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to be talented. You do not need a special brain. You only need the right path and the courage to continue. Everything you need is already inside you. Your brain can learn. Your mind can adapt. Your voice can grow stronger, but only if you give it a real chance. So start today, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Start now. One word, one sentence, one small step. That is enough. Do not try to change everything in one day. Do not try to become perfect in 1 week. Just begin. Listen for a few minutes. Repeat a few sentences. Speak a little, even if it feels uncomfortable, because every small action matters. Every time you try, you are building something. Every time you repeat, you are getting stronger. Every time you speak, you are breaking fear. And slowly, something changes. The language that once felt impossible starts feeling familiar. The words that once disappeared start staying in your mind. The fear that once stopped you starts becoming weaker. And one day, you will look back and realize something important. You did not become fluent in one big moment. You became fluent step by step. So do not wait for confidence. Do not wait for perfection. Move forward even if your step is small. Because small steps repeated every day create powerful results. This is your moment. This is your beginning. And this time, do not stop.